Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Alpha Coach podcast. Today I've got Aishwarya Jagadish. She's a triathlete, a coach, and quietly one of the fastest rising names in Indian endurance sport. At just the age of 10, she was a national level tennis player, and later she became a high achiever in tech roles at Goldman Sachs and Deloitte. But what really inspired her to come full circle was her endurance sport, right? Now, what started 4 years ago as coaching runners in the US has now evolved into what she's branded as Team Ultra, where Aishwarya now trains runners and triathletes through science backed, structured programs that sort of prioritize injury free training and long term consistency. And now, in just I think under 14 months, she's also completed 5 Ironman 70.3 kilometer races across the world. Imagine that, right? She's won her age group in Ironman Goa, and she's also earned 2 world championship slots, and also holds the AWA silver status on the global leaderboard. It just think of that, right? And now she's also ranked number one in India in her category. I mean, talk about achievements. Or she's all of 29 years old, by the way. She's based in Bangalore, and she's being coached by a global pro, and she's building something what I would call as a much larger purpose, which is basically bringing about a smarter endurance culture in India. One that, ditches copy paste plans for, personalized progress. And she values strength over shortcuts and also sees this sport not just as a phase, but something that people can actually pursue lifelong. Now, what makes Aishwarya really stand out isn't just that the fact that she's done a few things and she's an expert in some of these things. It's that she literally walks, and I would add runs, swims, and bikes the talk, right? And, I met her really briefly during this fitness award function in April. And I was like, I think we spent all of maybe 10, 15 minutes with each other. And I was super impressed with what she had to talk about herself. And I was like, you know what? I have to have her on this podcast and unpack her journey as an athlete, a coach, and somebody who's, reshaping how India thinks about endurance, to be cliched 1 mile at a time, right? So, welcome to the Alpha Coach podcast, Aishwarya. It's such a pleasure to have you on board finally.
Thank you so much, Ketan, for having me on the Alpha Coach podcast. It's a pleasure, firstly, meeting you and knowing you. And along with that, it's also like a good space to have a voice, at the end of the day, that's what matters to have a voice to share not just your experiences, but your learnings, your idea of empowerment, and everything around what you do, what you love. So I think I'm just really happy to be here. And I'm really looking forward to have this conversation with you.
Fantastic. Cool. So, tell me, you were a national level player, I mean, in tennis at the age of 10. Like, what did sport mean to you back then? How did you get into tennis? At what age did you start? How did you get into such competitive stuff so early in life?
Right. So when I was around 9 years old, I saw this match, of course, on TV, but I saw Federer and Nadal play at Roland Garros. This was 2008, if I'm not wrong. And they were at that final. And I love the fact how tennis just is so powerful. It's stylish. And it's also an individual sport. So I've always been extremely competitive right from a very young age. I think that kind of comes down from my parents, my mother especially, who is an incredible entrepreneur, and she herself is like she's got us through tough times. She's been there. Her resilience, her mindset is what kind of awakens me, and that's what I think I have. She's extremely competitive, and I think I've pretty much taken up that characteristic. And yeah, after seeing that, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I forced them to sign up for the tennis coaching, which was nearby to my house. It was the Mahesh Bhupathi Academy. And interestingly, Mahesh Bhupati's dad himself was at the academy. And yeah, he was always there. His mindset, his push towards doing sport was something I kind of, took in. And tennis at that time, there were only national level tournaments and you had to like be really good. I think the academy itself gave us a very good foundation. We were playing fair, we were playing hard. There was another kind of tennis where things were different. You just push things back, and it's very different. Versus we were told how to play the game in actual sites, and I loved it. I played for almost 5 to 6 years. I rose across the ranks in the national level purely because I think my serve was great, and a lot of times I have to play the game point itself. But yeah, I think I loved it. It was also like a sort of discipline that set into my whole day because every day morning I'd play 2 hours of tennis, go to school, come back. Then sometimes we'd have evening sessions, 2 hours, or the gym, and go back. And on the weekends, there would be more like gym sessions, swim sessions for recovery. And that's kind of like how my base was really established. But I would say I was always like into everything. Even in school, I was very competitive. I was good at dance, aerobics, academics, and sport, of course. So it was like just that whole competitive energy would really, there was like, if I get second rank, that's like not up to it. 24 out of 25 is not good enough. I think I grew up like that, but a lot of us, if you say, have grown up with that kind of even parental guidance where you have to do whatever it takes to get that 100 on 100. So yeah, I think I've really enjoyed that journey. It gave me that beautiful foundation to taken sport, and it really complemented, I think, my academics. So that's what helped, because sport in itself helps you build that focus, that concentration, which can really empower your studies. You don't have to put in that kind of study hours, compared to a regular person. So I
Right.
would just go up, show up for the exam, and just deliver it, and the marks would come. So I think that's what I love about sport and even tennis at that point.
So you got to play and you still did well at school. I mean, that's the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
parents' dream, right?
Extremely well.
I think
Yes.
you're just old enough and just young enough to be the next generation, but still have those kind of marks that people need in terms of having to get those crazy this things. Because I mean, these days with so many IB schools, IGCSE, and other boards that have come up, the pressure to get those kind of 90, 95, 98, 99% is not much. Although, of course, ICSE, CBSE, and SSE schools still have those kind of marking systems. It's just
Right.
not as much as how we used to have back in those days, where everything was just the one mindset to have. Okay, this is the only way that scoring happens. Anyways,
Yes,
good.
yes.
And then you moved a little bit out of sports, and then you went on to work at Goldman and Deloitte. So what made you go out, and then what made you return to competitive sport again then?
Right. So when I was 16, I mean, my 10th was done. I was the topper. I'd got like a perfect score. Tennis, on the other hand, is a very, certain journey, if you say, right? You don't know if you'll make it. And in India, even right now, you don't have anyone outside Sanya who is kind of like that role model for you to get there in the grand slams, or like top of the world kind of scheme. And being the best in India may not be the only career option. And I was doing very well in academics, so that's where that insecurity brewed up, and I didn't have that kind of mental psychologist kind of support, someone who kind of put that into me, saying maybe you should give this a try, you're really good, should give it a few more years. And at 16 you feel like I'm actually pretty old, because there are like, at that point, there were people who were getting into tennis at the age of 4, 5, 6, versus I got in at like 9ish and 10, which I felt was like really late, because when you're 9, 10, under 10 is gone. So under 12. But look at it from now, like when you're like 30, 40, that looks like, oh, damn, that's very small. Yeah, but at that time it feels like you're in that space and you don't know what it is. You have your own insecurities, your self-doubt. And in another space like the academics, I was very strong, and I felt like maybe I'll just take it that route. And then I was a very introverted kid back then. Like I wouldn't share too much. So till the age of 16, I wouldn't speak to anybody, and I would just keep everything to myself. And like now what I'm very different, because that's the need of the hour and the need of the job. But I had to evolve. But that said, that time I was different, and the kind of environment and the mental health and mental psychology aspect in sport was not very stabilized back then. So I think I
Right.
had to choose differently.
I think
I attended a college in Bangalore itself, did my BTech, and yeah, I didn't do much of sport back then in college. Things change. You want to try different things. I love traveling. So I did like a fancy 2, 3 weeks Ladakh trip on a bike, on a motorbike, and crazy things. I did a lot of exploration, but it opened me up as a person. I think
Yeah.
that's what changed me. And then I got in, like, I think the language helps. Honestly, getting the first few roles at that point, I got my interview through to Goldman, then to Deloitte. In Deloitte, I got an internship, like a 5 month summer employee role in Goldman. And that was during my last year of college itself. I had to like balance a bit of college work plus the 5 month role. And then I also got a full time offer in Deloitte. And when I finished my Goldman internship, I realized, okay, maybe this is a bit too much. Like the work hours in Goldman, like it's pretty high. So yeah, I decided, okay, maybe Deloitte is going to be a bit better and I can balance a bit of sport back then. But realized Deloitte is equally, challenging and in terms of work hours.
Yep.
So I figured that after some time, but then it was like a 2 year stint that I did in Deloitte. And yeah,
You
eventually
know,
I
when
took
you
my
when you were
decision to
talking
leave.
about Goldman being bad and you thought Deloitte might be better, and I was thinking to myself, I've spent time at PwC and E&Y,
Okay.
and none of these consulting firms have any concept of work-life balance. I used to
Yes.
have a 6.5 day work week because we used to
Mm-hmm.
work every alternate Sunday also. It was literally
Right.
that bad.
Yeah,
Excellent,
I think you
excellent.
can resonate, yes. But at that point, you don't know if like it's you or if it's just the environment, right? Because everyone around you is doing that, and you feel like maybe you're the other person. So that's where it is. But Goldman actually gave me that grassroots ability to just get back to sport because I had a really nice gym and
Hmm.
personal trainers and everything. So I would go there. I started my running journey again, like over there. Did like the first 500 meters, 1K, 2K. The rejuvenation of like my sporting journey began there. And yeah, then I carried it on. And
Cool,
that way it
super
was
cool.
good. Yeah.
Coming to now, right? I mean, in 14 months, you finished 5 Ironmans. Like, I mean, one Ironman is typically what people wear as a badge for life. One marathon is what people wear as a badge for life. I haven't even done a half marathon, so I can't even imagine how grueling the training and actual, marathons, etc. are. But you've done five. That's literally one almost every 3 months. I mean, what gives? That's like totally wild. Like, what drives that pace to keep doing this so often? You've already done it. You've established yourself as a coach who's done it. You ranked a certain thing. What keeps you going to keep doing these again and again?
Right. So, I mean, the first part of it, like what made me do it was, I think the energy. There was a small incident that happened, like just before I signed up for the Ironman. Like I lost my dad at that point. This was 2022 in October. And then I went to Ironman Goa just for volunteering, just for a change of, space and mind and everything. And I was like really blown by what people can achieve if they put their mind into it. And I felt that was the right place or right way to channelize my energy because otherwise grief can take you like helter in all directions. So yeah, that's what made me sign up. And I did my first Ironman 70.3 in Vietnam, which was my dad's favorite city. So I finished that in like 6 hours, 6 minutes, and I was kind of proud of that number. And then I think one more thing is that I've done seven in 1.5 years just because I think the update didn't happen on the website. But yeah, so
Oh,
yeah. So I signed up for eight in the first 2 years because, I mean, that's including one of the world championship entries. I finished seven because I had a small incident in the world championship. Like there was a tube on the road and I kind of slid. But that's okay. And that built me up as well because I couldn't finish that race. And one DNF is enough that it'll set you up that you're never DNFing again. Like DNF is did not finish. So it builds you. It made me a lot more stronger. And coming to now, I think I'm a person who loves challenges. So after doing 7, 8, I realized, okay, this is not going to challenge me too much more. So now I've signed up for a full Ironman next year. So that's going to be the next kind of goal I'm excited about. Yeah.
that's crazy. I read somewhere that you train across India, Thailand, and Europe. Like, how do you actually manage your time, the logistics, and being able to be consistent across these geographies and also managing work along with it?
Right. For the last 2 years, I think my major focus was being a better athlete myself. And there were a few reasons about, trying to train abroad. One of the key reasons was the safety for cycling, because in India, it's not very easy to cycle safely. There are a lot of vehicles, the traffic, and, a lot of accidents have happened. And also in terms of the temperature and weather, India is hot versus training in cooler climates. You can train harder and obviously you can improve and recover faster. These were the couple of reasons we actually decided to train in different places. And all while we were also racing in different countries. Like I've done the Ironman 70.3 in France, then in Australia, a race in Vietnam, and different places. And we were like kind of exploring what are the places that will suit us best. And the bigger idea was to figure out what works best and then come back and probably have a more stable, longer term in those countries. But that said, all the plans changed because Ultra was born and I wanted to come back and create a community and everything. But that
Right.
said, yeah, in terms of how you manage everything, I think it's always about how you manage time. That's kind of the most critical resource. So I put my currencies into it's time, energy, and money, right? These are our three currencies, and you play around with these. How I would do it is I have a structure around most things, and everything is kind of put into a calendar, and I kind of play around with it. Obviously, there is flexibility because some days you don't feel the best, some days you want to do something else. But yeah, everything there's a structure, and the only thing I do is eat, sleep, work, and train, and everything else is kind of it's out of the room for me, and that's what helps me, I
I
guess.
think I think I pride myself to be like that as well. So everything, including downtime, including my gym sessions, are on my calendar.
Right.
And I'm forced to take downtime when I want to. Like, you know what? I just want to vegetate and not do anything. Just watch TV for an hour and a half because that is my scheduled downtime. Literally to that point. And I keep joking and I keep saying that, you know what? There used to be Dilshata Hai. There was this guy called Subodh where everything was on a calendar. Those are the kind of people that actually are able to do so much more in life. Like people think that your life is just way too structured. You don't have any leeway to do anything that you want. But on the contrary, when you put everything down, your work gets done seamlessly because you've already blocked time for that. And if you
Right.
block time to be with the family, or with friends, whatever, watch TV for all that for all that matters, right? You
Yes.
can actually get it done as opposed to just leaving everything open and literally nothing gets done on that. And I've seen most successful people actually time block and get stuff done because that is actually efficient. So I'm happy you
Yeah,
sort of
that's
said
true.
that.
There's this
Great, great.
quote by Kipchoge. He says, "Discipline sets you free." So I think that's
Exactly. Structure is what allows you to be free. Exactly. Because it's off your mind. You know it's going to
yes.
get done at a certain time. Incredible. Perfect. Let's get down to the Ultra project, right? I'd love to understand what exactly is Team Ultra? Like, what do you guys do? What made you start it? Like, just a little bit
Right.
about how you got into it.
So taking a bit from what we just spoke, right, about structure, and even if you want to aspire to finish a half marathon, finish an Ironman, the most important thing you need is structure and consistency because once you
Right.
drop off, momentum drops off. I don't think anything like motivation can really set you on fire or get you back because it's all about how consistent you are, not just for a few weeks, but for years and years and years, and that's what can get you to the goal. So coming to Ultra, currently it's just me and Ujjwal. We have a couple of interns who work with us, like 7, 8 of them, and we both actually met during that first Ironman 70.3 Goa, where that I went for a volunteering meet. So we both were training under the
Nice.
same coach. And after that, we were traveling and training together, and we had similar aspirations as an athletes to get to the top of the country. And again, we are in the top five in the country, male and women, male and female in the Ironman. And he has like a fantastic timing for the Ironman 70.3. He finished it in 4.5 hours, which is like
Yeah,
top
I
three
saw
in the
something on your
country.
website. It's insane. I mean,
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
yourself through for 4.5 hours is like mad. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, those kind of timings are like it's not normal. It requires you to be on like a sage mode where everything you do is around the sport. So that's how we met, and like I really love how calm and balanced he is. Versus I'm a bit more like a rabbit. I'm very hyper, and I do a lot of things, and then I take long breaks. Versus he's a slightly different person. He's a very consistent, stable person. Even if you speak to him, he doesn't come across as a Delhi boy. He has no gullies and nothing. Yeah, so I think things worked out in terms of our athlete goals, and slowly we decided that okay, what if we take this a step further? Because there were a few triggers. One is Ujjwal's story himself, where he trained for his first Ironman 70.3 on his own. He had a lot of struggles, no resources, and
Wow.
he finished top 10, but there's a lot of setbacks over there. Versus when he kind of moved, so we had the same coach for a certain point, and then he moved to a UK based coach. So both of us were training with a UK based coach in the last couple of years.
Okay.
And he's a pro coach. And immediately, just 4 months after he shifted, his timings dropped from like 5 hours, 5 minutes to like 4.5 hours, which is a massive drop in that segment. So yeah, if you like know Ironmans, you know how big of a drop because the fastest Indians are operating at 4.5 hours. for completing
Wow.
that whole distance. And I'm
What's the
talking,
best? What's the world record for this?
there's no world record, but pro triathletes go anywhere between 3.5 hours to 4 hour
Oh
10
my
minutes.
God.
Yeah. So that depends on the course. And Goa in itself is one of the hardest courses in the world
And
just because
can
it's
you give
hilly.
us the breakup of the 70.3? This I know that the marathon is
The
42
distance.
kilometers, right?
Yes. So it's 70.3 miles, which is
Oh,
2 kilometers of, yeah,
oh
two
my
kilometers
God.
of a swim.
Okay.
And then it's 90 kilometers of bike. And then it's a half marathon, 21.1 K run. This is done all together, one after the other. And the full Ironman that
Wow.
I'm attempting is like 4 kilometers swim, 180 kilometers of biking, and a 42.2 full marathon after these two things. So that's where it
Okay.
is.
I'm tired
Yeah.
just okay. I'm tired just
Tired
listening to all of
listening.
this. I think this is going to be the most tiring podcast
The
host
podcast and
ever.
the workout.
I'm like tired just listening to what you need to do. Sorry, 70.3 miles. So that's 1.6 times of what I assumed it to be because
Yes.
I thought it was in kilometers. Okay.
No, no.
Crazy,
So
crazy,
it's
crazy.
totally.
Okay.
And it's three different disciplines, right? So you need three
Yeah.
different
You need
sports
skill sets.
combined.
Me, I could bike. I find biking extremely boring, but yes, I can bike. I can run.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a maximum of 10K ever in my life. Like I've run one run, which was a structured event. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've run 10, 12K. That's about it. How do you, I mean, then you need to be able to swim effortlessly, and 2 kilometers is a lot, right? I mean, how do you coach somebody who's saying anybody, like who's just getting started in something like this? Like, what is day one like? Like, how do you wrap their head around, say, you know what? At some point, you're going to
Right.
be doing 120 kilometers or whatever it is exactly of intense, grueling, continuous, non-rested activity across
That's right.
three different sports. How do you get them to agree to even sign up with you in that thing and then say, okay, day one, say, let's start doing this? Like what goes on and how do you help them?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing that we are trying to crack in India, the commitment part of it. Anything like a 5K and a 10K, you don't need that kind of commitment. Anybody shows up, you train for it.
Yeah,
But honestly, if you come to me, like you, Ketan, today come to me, I can definitely train you for a 70.3 in 6 months. That's a goal. If you're like naturally having some kind of fitness and endurance, we can definitely train you. But the full Ironman is a different beast. So that needs a different level of, training commitment. But I feel anybody who is decently fit, who can do a 5K, 10K run or jog as well, we can train them for a 70.3. Swimming takes time, of course, because it's a very technical sport in itself. But bike and run, most people can do it. But building the endurance about it, around it, is what's important. And the main thing that I told you about, right? It's the structure and consistency. And the main thing is also to stay injury free. And that's where I think we want to set or create a
yeah,
difference because that's what we have decided or we have figured the difference between training with coaches in India versus when we train with coaches abroad. Their plans are very scientific and they're very structured. And when you have a niggle, when you have some kind of injury or, mild injury, they kind of assess it really fast and they make sure that you don't go in the complete injury concept. And when that happens, it kind of like just puts you down psychologically, puts you down physically. There's rehab,
yeah,
there's money spent, and all of that. But if you see in India, we operate more on like a post kind of thing. Like something happens and then you see what to do about it. We don't operate in the preventative, even in medical space or the healthcare space. If something happens, we go to the hospital. But before
yeah.
that, what to do to actually avoid it? Preventative is not what we follow. That's why I think building Ultra is like it's taking us a lot more time. That said, the fact that we have our personas already built in the community, everybody knows us, and we're also creating that vibe and space in the social media and everything. The journey has been a bit fast tracked. We've got a lot more athletes in just 3 months who are committed, who want to train for anything like a 5K, 10K run, or even the Ironmans. But it's just that it is a commitment oriented thing,
I'm
and
sure.
that's the end of
So the people who come to you, are these guys already people who are, I would say, lifestyle fitness enthusiasts, and they've already tried their hand at doing some runs, already done some swimming? Because they can't be people, saying, for example, assuming, there's a friend of mine who doesn't know how to swim at all. I mean, he's never
right.
learned. do you have people who start them off with literally that base kind of a thing, or they're already people who are um, have tried one or two of these things, maybe used to swim at school and know how to swim, maybe enjoy doing these, Sunday biking with friends and they go, do 10, 20, 30 kilometers and come back. And then they maybe have run a few of these 5, 10, maybe even a half marathon. And they're saying, you know what? Now I want to get to that next level. I want to really crack the Ironman or whatever, and then they come to you. So which one of these do you think are more inclined to
Uh,
sign up?
got it. I mean, honestly, Indian atmosphere, Indian sporting culture, everyone's a beginner. They're an amateur level. In fact, we are at like not even professional level. We are slightly somewhere right below being professional triathletes. So the person you're talking about, the second layer where they're already fit, they might be somewhere as close to us. So we don't train those people as much. Yes, we do in certain levels where performance and time goals are involved. We don't train people who are exactly like us or who are as fast as us. So we train absolute beginners. And we have had people from all walks, like people who are 18-year-old college students who have never swam, never run, and who just want to get started with it. And our program is completely virtual. Basically, we understand everything about the athlete. It's not, they're not athletes, to be honest. They're just everyday people who have work, who have life, college, whatever it is. We understand everything about them, their goals, their current fitness levels, their work life. Is this a lifestyle for them, or they're just trying to squeeze in? And what is their availability like? Because that's kind of like the most important aspect. How much time can they commit to this? So we understand everything, and then we curate a program which is given online. And through an app, we use an app called Training Peaks. Everything is given to them. The workout gets synced to the watch, and once they complete the workout, it comes back to us. The data is there. But we slightly operate on a hybrid model in Bangalore where we have the online or one-on-one
Right.
customized, yes, but we also have like we do runs together and everything. But to your question, yes, people from all walks of life can attempt this. It's just the mindset. It's just how you want to, it's just the aspiration. And obviously, if you have a base, it just gets you to the goal faster. Let's say you might just take 6 months versus someone who's never done any of these things will take 1 year for the same goal, just giving a rough estimate. But that will vary because we don't want to like get them to just start running on day one. It's very simple. There's walk jogs, swimming. We
Yeah,
recommend.
that was my next question, right? How do you ensure? I mean, see, this is online, right? It comes with its challenges that you're not face to face. You can't, and a lot of fitness coaches are apprehensive about online because they don't get to immediately see, oh, is that squat rep correct? Are they doing the proper hip hinge? Are they arching the back? All of those things are what people don't understand about online coaching, or are not sure if they'll be able to do justice to their clients in that
Right.
manner. So, how do you maybe ensure that your folks do not maybe overtrain or injure themselves, like you mentioned, preventively, right? Or even underfuel themselves, because this requires a lot of fueling, right? To in the right way,
Right.
you need the simple carbs, you need the instant energy, the glucose, the gluco high, etc., etc. How do you sort of manage all of these things and keep an open interface with your students, so to speak, so that they are doing it, progressing at the right level without falling off either the wagon because they're undertraining or overfueling, or vice versa, they are extremely enthusiastic and they're saying overtraining and underfueling and so on.
Right. I think we can understand personas. Usually the typical 18, 19-year-olds, they want to overtrain or they want to do more versus people at a different scale. Let's say they have a fast-paced lifestyle, a CXO or a founder or an investor. They're a bit more like, on the conservative side. Firstly, understanding the person itself. And also we have different modes of communication. We have calls, we have WhatsApp, texting. There's also like the app itself allows you to add comments. And the major part is like the data itself, looking at the data, looking at the heart rate, looking at different, like on the bike, there's power metrics, on the run, there's heart rate and RPE and their comments. So understanding them and understanding the data behind it. And also for like some athletes work on feel, like they may not go directly on data, but
Right.
they know or they understand their body. So they are very openly, they communicate and say, this is how I felt and I want to tone down this particular session. I'm traveling and I would just be able to access just this, or I won't be able to do much. So it's very personalized, and that's why we move to like a very one-on-one customized program concept versus before we tried standard plans, but that we felt wouldn't work because people don't know what to eat, how to like do this, and they would like fall off. So that's where we decided, okay, we need to have that coach touch point and that accountability and everything. So I feel all of this accumulation of how to do this because we have learned how this is done. We've been there where we ourselves have, learned every part of, what to eat, what not to eat. When you're a high performance athlete, every small change makes a massive
Yeah.
difference versus when you're an everyday athlete and like, you can simply follow an 80-20% rule. 20% you're off, you're okay. I think you know this best. So we've fine tuned every single thing. And then I think giving that on a platter to everybody, our experience, our performance, and the knowledge that we have gained over these X number of years is probably what we offer, along with the modes of communication and everything.
Super,
So yeah.
super, super, super. And what might be like the most common misconception about triathlons? Like, what are the things that you've heard that people think about triathlons?
Yeah, I think people just get scared when we say Iron Man, just hearing the distance.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the end. They're like, we
I, I,
can't do
I,
this.
I was scared when it was kilometers, right? Because, but then, see, you also, I think it is Iron Man is named because it is extremely hard and it's
Yes.
not easy for sure. And which is why I think you also named your company as Team Ultra, which is not an easy thing for an everyday athlete to say, "Ha, chalo try kar lete hain." I think this is a nice thing to try. I need to lose 4 kgs. I'm not in team ultra athlete for sure, and I'm definitely not a
Yeah.
candidate for that. Only a person who has demonstrated or has some serious grit inside can even think about attempting that, let alone completing, let alone ranked. That's बहुत दूर की that चीज. But I'm saying even that kind of thing needs this. So I think it's I think a very very well placed misconception at one level, right?
So again, we don't train everybody for an Ironman. There's very few Indians who are in that position to train because you need a lot of money, you need a lot of time and energy. And at different parts of your lifespan, different things kind of overpower. Like there is a stage when you have a lot of money, but you won't have enough time. So there's a time when
Yeah,
you have a lot of energy, but you won't have enough money. So having everything is very difficult versus
yeah,
triathlon is not just Ironman. So there's a lot of short distance triathlons, and
yeah.
we just don't train for triathlons, right? We coach anybody for a 5K run or even
Okay,
for fitness. So there are a lot of people who just want to lose weight or just want to be fit and just want to run. They like it. So our programs are just running, which is a form of cardio, and strength, which is a form of, you know, keeping
okay. So
yourself
you
fit and healthy.
have
Yes.
stuff other than triathlons also. Got it,
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it,
yeah.
got it.
We train people for running. We train people for high rocks or, CrossFit. We train people for triathlon. So
Oh yeah, you
triathlon is
just compete.
obviously,
Yeah, you just competed for the High Rocks also, right? You just
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
competed in that in Mumbai. That's how
That's
you were
right.
in Mumbai at that time also.
Yes, I was there for High Rocks, and then I think Red Bull sponsored even my entry to that event that was taking part. So High Rocks
How
was again
cool.
sponsored by Red Bull for me, and they were like, "Okay, this event is happening, come down." So yeah.
Tell us about your experience at High Rocks. What was it like? Is it like the CrossFit Open or is it different? What exactly is High Rocks?
High Rocks is like 8 kilometers of running with 8 fitness stations in between. And CrossFit opens a lot more in terms of lifting as heavy as you can. Honestly, I haven't been on the
Right.
CrossFit Opens. I mostly do sport, endurance sport is what I do. But that said, High Rocks is fun. It's like mix of endurance sport plus strength. So that's where it comes. But I personally feel, or even everybody around would feel it's more of a runner sport. Runners do better than actually heavy lifters or, people who are the gym goers. But that said, it's fun. The vibe was great. There were like, I think, 1,600 people, and people from around 55 countries had come there.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was crazy. Yeah. So I met people from a lot of different countries, coaches from different countries, and some of them had come to India just to get that slot for the World Championships of High Rocks, which is
Right.
happening in Chicago. So yeah, it's
Okay.
fun, and I think it can grow pretty rapidly because it's a very indoor controlled environment. So it's very easy for them to organize it compared to like the same team organizes Ironman Goa. So they're
Okay.
like, yeah, it's 1/10 the effort to organize this because it's a controlled space. There's not much that can go wrong, right? So
Right.
yeah, it was fun, a lot of energy, and I'm sure it's going to grow pretty rapidly now.
Cool. On a more serious note, you know, women in sport, like you mentioned, Sania Mirza is one and the only maybe idol one could have to replicate in Indian tennis, right? I think a lot more women in badminton now, a lot more women in running, especially and all. But as a woman in, say, endurance sport, what are the challenges that maybe you faced, if any? Of course, I'm not saying there have to be, but did you face any challenges or and do you think female endurance athletes are getting the recognition that they deserve in India and globally?
Right. So honestly, if you see, there's a stark difference between sport that don't need too much resources. Tennis, golf, etc. need a lot of resources. So already the number of people who can attempt this are low. Plus, women in
Right.
that sport is like significantly low. Badminton, on the other hand, I feel, I mean, now with the whole infrastructure with Prakash Padukone and like all of them, and yeah, just the sport itself is not as expensive. It's a bit more affordable. So that makes the entry barrier a lot lesser. Similar with running versus triathlon, right? Running is a lot more, now the entry barrier is low. You just need a pair of shoes to just get
Right.
out and run. So triathlon, you need equipment, you need money to afford. It's not just getting a bike. You have to carry your bike to the races. That's an expense. So a lot of times when I'm traveling to Europe and Australia, I'm carrying my bike. The bike bag
Wow.
itself is like worth another ticket for me. So that's a lot of cost, right? And even in the place, like you cannot leave your bike bag anywhere. The bike is worth a lot. So you have to carry with the bag or with the bike everywhere you travel. So that's like you have to get your big Mercedes van in Europe because they don't have anything below Mercedes there. So yeah, so affording all of it is tough. And coming to women in sport, I think there's a whole set of challenges around this because there's a lot. I mean, firstly, your programs, like when I cater to my female athletes, I understand what their hormonal cycles are because that impacts a lot around how they perform on different days. Having coaches who understand that is very integral to the system. And then understanding how women's their emotional segment or their way of reacting to situations is a lot different. That is one. Then safety is a big topic that we can speak for hours and hours on this podcast. But yeah, I've had
Yeah.
innumerable instances while riding on my own and, like cycling. Yeah, it pretty much traumatizes you after a point because, like you want to be free, you want to have that freedom to go experience just on your own bike. And I've had situations where people come taunt you or this things, and there are things where you go to races and there's not enough restrooms, and men can like utilize it or you just go
Yeah.
anywhere or do whatever at least at your urgent situation. But then what do women do? So things like that. It's very nuanced, but they exist. These kind of problems exist in India specifically. So yeah, we're still struggling. And also the representation. I think everything is about the number of eyeballs you garner, like in terms of how much money you make. It's how many people want to see you.
Correct.
That's how, yeah, even in French Open, the middle center courts are never given to female athletes. It's always the top three, top four, or the best in the world, the men who play in those courts. So things like that, even women cricket versus women or male cricket, all of these things, it's also about how many people want to see that. And yeah, that's where I think with time, probably it might change. But to be very fair, triathlon is a sport which is not that significantly different in terms of men and male and female pays. I think in terms of at least the race payments. That's if you're on the professional side. But obviously in
Right.
terms of sponsorships, it's again very
It's
starkly
still
different.
there's a
Yeah.
big difference between the two. Because see, what I was actually
Yes.
thinking was you look at most sports, how they've evolved, right? If you look at tennis, women start playing tennis a lot later. Cricket,
Right.
I wouldn't. I mean, 5 years back, I wouldn't be able to name three women cricketers because it
Right.
just wasn't there. I mean, people played it. They just didn't telecast it. There weren't women in IPL just started maybe 2, 3 years back, right? I mean, the WPL just started recently, and then they've got a lot more recognition. But
Yes.
I'm not sure about the triathlons, marathons, and Ironman is just one brand, and it's the much harder whatever version of this. What I would assume that a lot more women as a percentage or a proportion of the total always have been part of that is what I would assume. I'm not sure. So was that always the case or is it just now that a lot more women have started running and doing these kind of endurance sports?
So in India, I mean, the kind of people who get into running professionally are mostly from tier two, tier three cities. And there, I think, they just get into it and that's kind of their lifestyle and passion. But then for them to earn money, so again, you're representing
Right.
sport and by chance you make it, that's golden glory. But there are thousands who don't make it to that, Olympic gold or silver or Asian Games or whatever, and they don't see anything. So, yeah, what I feel is it's growing significantly. But that said, for them to like actually be visible, like how you said, WPL really changed the game, right, for women, female
Yeah.
cricketers. So that's how, like, how many people can see you, and that's how it's going to change. That's why being more visible, having that communication skill, like those kind of developments, and also like in terms of brands and sponsors, they care about who's more visible and how to get them on the sponsorship, how to get them to represent the brand. So there's like a lot of changes that has to be done on both ends from the athlete side that they develop, they are performance oriented, they do well not just in their events but also like outside, be more visible, and in terms of even the organizers and like the broadcasters, etc. So everything has to change with time, and hopefully there are a lot of really amazing projects that are happening called the Female Athlete Project, if you've heard about them. They do a lot of content around,
Interesting.
yeah, women, female athletes across the world, and they're really trying to propagate and push that. That's why it's going to take time. Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
ongoing
yeah,
journey.
I think everything is about, I mean, the currency today is attention. If
Yes,
you can get the right people to see you, you can get more people to see you, more people to cheer for you and start to notice you. You clearly hit the mark when it comes to doing some brand deals, right? I mean, you said literally your entire High Rocks event uh, was sponsored by Red Bull.
right,
There is a sport and an athlete which is intersecting with your personal branding, which you seem to have cracked. So then a lot of other tailwinds sort of follow you because, like you said, if you can make money through a branding exercise while you're doing your sport, tomorrow that same thing can pay for your cycle bag that you said is like an extra ticket to take to Europe. And then you get that much recognition, and then it sort of snowballs into something which just helps you evolve. And then you get to, it's all passive income that's got of growing, which doing stuff that you actually enjoy, right? But regardless, the quantum or the amount that one can make in this country in any sport, men or women, which is not cricket, in any sport other than cricket, is obviously a
right.
lot more muted. So I think, we have these discussions, obviously, these are general discussions saying, why aren't more sports sort of pushed? Why is IPL the whole and soul, and you have tons of boy groups and groups that talk about IPL all the time, as opposed to having groups related to tennis, groups related to boxing, groups related to endurance. And I think those have such a huge opportunity to grow right now in India. Because if you look at them, they were like what women's cricket was 5, 8 years back, where didn't know it existed. And
Right.
suddenly it's exploded, right? And people are seeing women playing these matches. And there's so many of these sports, regardless of men and women, that can be put out there. I mean, people start watching Kabaddi, right? Think about it.
Right.
We wouldn't played it as children. Like I don't know if you played, but we played it. And I'm born in the late 70s, early 80s. We played it as children. Never even thought of it as classy sport at those days. So maybe we played it once or twice, but not something like that. And now it's become, they've got leagues for it. I mean, it's unbelievable, right?
Right.
I just think it needs the right push. You need a few champions to sort of say, listen, I'm going to fund this. I'm going to start putting it out there. You need some enterprising folks to say, let's start creating a league, make teams, and then see how it goes. Of course, you need money to burn before it actually makes sense.
That's what we're trying to do with Ultra. We're trying to really tap the endurance space. It's a very unorganized segment. If you see there are run coaches everywhere, but there's no big player in the endurance space. Versus if you see in the fitness, the weight loss space, like you are one of them. There's other brands like Fitter, there's Cult Fit, there's Healthify Me. They're really tapping on the fitness and weight loss space, but we don't have something like that in the running space. So you don't know, like you have a goal, but you don't know how to reach that goal. So you just ask your
Right.
friends, whom should I train with? And they may be good or bad, but you just go with them because you just don't have any kind of visibility as who is the best. So that's what we're trying to break. And hopefully we are getting a bit of funds to just, propel this mission that we have. But that said, it's all impact led. It's not like very monetary, to be honest. So whatever you spoke about, like kabaddi or IPL, it's all very much a business model that really worked. If you see the heads who started it, Lalit Modi, and yeah, so they know how to get the whole model working, but it's all monetary, it's all marketed well, it's all done well. RCB itself is a beautiful marketing strategy, how to keep the
Yep.
community engaged. So it's
Finally.
all beyond, yeah, like the passion for sport is one side. It's all how you kind of like put the business of sport is kind of like more important. And if more money flows in, then sports athletes will definitely benefit, but you need the entrepreneurs to put in the minds. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, see, end of the day, it's the business of sport, it's the
yeah,
business of fitness, the business of weight loss. End of the day, if everybody else benefits from that, everybody needs to make money, right? So I
yes,
think it's a great thing if something can, if the big guys who put in the money make a lot of money, then everybody in the system makes money. You see the cricketers,
that's
people
right.
who are unknown, who used to be languishing in the local leagues on the Ranchi side, on a Mumbai team or a Chennai team or a whatever Bhopal team,
Yes,
are now making crores per year because that's there. In fact, international players leave their home guard and come here and play, and because they earn in couple of $1 million in just one IPL season, and they're home free, right? And that, I
that's
think,
right.
that's success for even the athlete level. That's success even for the staff at the stadiums, because now they've got so many people coming in, everybody's making money. The local vendor who's selling Bhel Puri outside the Wankhede Stadium or the Kantirwa Stadium or Chinnaswamy Stadium, wherever, all of these people are making money because the sports got eyeballs, and that is attention, and that's what we were talking
Yes,
about. I think it's
yes, exactly.
you need people to sit up and take notice about what you're doing, and then everything flows.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's why I try to like capture a lot of things. Like even my journey to the Ironman, I'm planning to document the whole thing and see where it takes me. And even with like building the brand, like a lot of times when we build the brand, right? When we were athletes, everybody loved us. Everybody loved us being part of the community. When you start building a brand, it's always like, okay, these people are here for the money, and there's a lot of shots being taken at us for small things. When we're trying to build a community, host a session, there are people who just think, okay, we're trying to prey on like their athletes and all that. But honestly, we want to build something larger. When you kind of grow the sporting ecosystem, everybody under that kind of grow. But that's kind of the vision we have. Versus the moment you start, you're obviously a small fish in a pond, and everyone thinks, okay, there's a competitor and they're working aggressively, and the kind of pace I generally operate in, just because the Iron Man, and imagine the same with my business. Like we're always operating at 10x the pace, and it looks like, okay, they're taking away what we're trying to get. But no, honestly, we're just trying to expand how many people train well before they go for a marathon, before they go for a race, whatever they do. And that's what we're trying to do. And but that is a very different, again, we come from a very competitive ecosystem, because
Hmm.
I think we've a lot of them have grown up with that, scarcity in resources or scarcity in
Yeah,
money,
yeah,
and
scarcity
just very,
mindset
yeah,
is the biggest problem, right? Like we used to actually have a coaching business before we started being a platform which is neutral. So
all
today,
right.
a Healthify, Cult, Fitter can literally list their coaches on our platform, get business for themselves via the platform if needed. Similarly, we have users who can be on using our app, using the coach. It doesn't matter. But there was a time when we actually had our coaching business, which we started off with. That was our first V1. Now we're probably on V3 or 4 of what we're trying to do. And even then, I used to literally say that, Tushar Vashisht, who is the head of Healthify, or Jitendra Choksey, who is the head of Fitter, we don't compete. We're all trying to do a good job, eventually
Yeah.
making. And you know what? There's so many people who don't go to the gym, don't train, don't have access to nutrition. The market is so big that in
Yeah.
India, I mean, we have 0.2% people go to the gym, right?
Yes.
Out of 150 crore people, you even take out 100 crores out of that, which are villages and who have no access to internet, all of those things. Even then, if you take that amount, 30 lakh people go to the gym out of 50 crore people. It's not
That's right.
even 1%. I mean, it's unreal. And you compare that to a UK or a US or Australia, whereas it's in 20 to 30% people. You even
That's right.
compare it to the BRICS countries, which is what we are part of and the largest amongst, which is your Brazil, Russia, Indonesia, South Africa, all of these countries, where the percentage is 4%.
Right.
If we have to grow from uh 0.5% to 4%, that's an 8x growth,
Yes. And I think
right?
that's where our thought should be, like how to
That's
grow
all.
that.
Grow the market,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody can win. And the
yes.
other thing is, of course, Indians in general find fitness to be extremely discretionary,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, you have
They'll
to
spend
go.
they'll spend
Yeah,
5,
so
8,000, 10,000 on a weekend night to drink and party, but they'll not spend
yeah.
5, 8,000 bucks on a month-long coaching because it's supposed to be free or there are YouTube videos for it. So that's just Indian mindset.
That is true, but if you see, like when I was like last 2 years, I've spent mostly outside, and I know how convenient it is to just go for a run or, access the nearest pool or access the nearest gym. But here you have to go out of your way to access this, number one. And number two is everybody around you are different. Let's say if you have to go for a run in the morning or a gym session at 7 a.m., but everybody around you want to go to the pub or like just chill after their work and everything. So
Hmm,
you have to be that different person. This is when you go abroad, you're not that offbeat person. Everybody around you want to go for the run. So they're like, okay, let's wind out, wind off, and we'll meet tomorrow morning. So here it's more about going out of your way to be fit or to go for a run. So
yeah,
that's another massive factor. Paying for it, yes.
you're
Day
the odd
outs
one
and
out.
yeah, you're the odd one out everywhere. So, and even like family culture is a very interesting thing. So this is what I figured with women in general who have their own kids, they have like 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, up until the kid has really like matured and graduated, they're not comfortable not doing anything for themselves. So that's another massive. So 10 years of their life, which is a uh, massive number of years, right? So that all everything is dedicated to the kid. And I feel yes, that is honestly something you should do. You should have a lot of dedication and time spent. But there is some amount, maybe even 30 minutes in the day. But if you can try doing something for yourself, if you keep yourself strong and healthy and fit, few years later when the kid needs you, you will be at the capacity to give back and your
Correct.
longevity might be better and so there's a lot of things, but again, it's very debatable. You get slush saying you don't have a kid, so probably talk once you have. So I won't go into that. But again, that's a big factor that we have seen. Like again, outside it's a lot more easier, so they are a bit more comfortable with having their kids and still, taking that step out. And it's also like not you're not judged as much by the community here. If you do that, everybody around you would look at you saying, okay, she's not giving the kid enough care and attention, and
Right.
there's a lot of that. So
Sweet. Perfect. Perfect. So tell me one thing, like if you weren't doing triathlons, right? This is just a fun question. What
uh-huh.
else would you be doing right now if it weren't for triathlons?
So I think for me, triathlon is a way for me to travel as well because I've done that. So irrespective of doing the sport, I think I would just continue traveling and like working. And like I'm a workaholic and I love traveling. I think these two things for sure. And yeah, that's
Perfect.
that's
Perfect.
about it.
Perfect. Super, super. Cool. So just to end, what's next for you now? I mean, obviously you are training again for one more Ironman, right? And the business, what are your goals for the next maybe a year, year and a half, 2 years? And how are you actually looking to grow? How do you actually see yourself maybe in the next couple of years?
Right. We want to move and accelerate to have at least like 100 athletes in our board. Again, it's quality over quantity. That said, it's not a insane goal that we cannot justify it with the athletes we have. And then we probably hire more coaches and then have a better infrastructure with Ultra, have more events and experiences where people can experience the sport, see what it is. Like an open water swim is honestly a not a thing to make money for us. It's more like giving people an experience into doing this and seeing how fun and beautiful it can be. Swimming in the oceans is amazing. It's a life-changing journey for you. But again, you have to experience it. So bringing that up, yeah, that's part of it. Right now, we're like in a small process that I'm learning the whole angel investments and everything. So I've never
Hmm,
been in that route. So we're trying to like get that done. So fundraising is a very interesting aspect for us. So we're trying to
nice,
do that. And growing the
nice.
business, it's part of like what we do. It's a passion-led, impact-led business for us. So we're trying to do everything we can and just grow the number of people who are part of this community who want to do endurance space, and we'll do everything in our capacity to help them do it the right way.
What would be the one statement, one message, one line that you would give to people even remotely considering this, whether it is running, doing a triathlon, and maybe in the future also considering an Ironman, what would you tell them?
So the most important thing is just sign up and see where your body can take you because you don't know what you are capable of. And even if you're 110 kgs, even if you're underweight, if you have a hectic job, if you have a massive family you need to take care of, whatever it is, we'll or any coach will just make sure that you'll be able to do that small bit every day. You keep doing that every single day to take you towards that journey because it's not only helpful for you to achieve that race, there's going to be a transformation for you in terms of your mindset, in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of the habits you have, and in terms of your health. And you will see the benefits of it very, very quickly. So just experience it. It's not about doing an Ironman, it's not about doing a full marathon. It's all about just doing something good for yourself every single day and yeah, helping everybody around you because you have so much positive energy when you go for a run or head a gym session. You become a beautiful person. So just go for it. Don't think about what are the limitations. Think about the endless possibilities that you can make happen.
Well
That's
said.
about it.
I think the key takeaway is to just get started, right? I mean, a lot of people just get stuck in the what ifs, should I? And then they just plan endlessly to the point that then they give it up, thinking, oh, now I can't do this. I'll wait for the best
Yeah.
time to do it, right? And most
Yes.
important thing, guys, is to really start it. And it will be messy. You will suck. The first run will be pathetic. Your
Yeah.
first swimming session will be really bad,
Yeah.
but I think over time, it's the mind that usually wins. Your body will adapt. And if you get the right kind of guidance, like Aishwarya and her co founder are doing at Team Ultra, I think you just need something that's structured, allows you, give you the guardrails, to make sure that you're training in the right way. And over time, the 6 months, a year will pass regardless. If you
Right.
can just keep getting 1% better every single day, you'll just see yourself as another person in the next 6 to 12 months. But the
Yes.
thing is, get started and just get going. Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Aishwarya. This was really fun. I mean, this was like seriously easy going. I think you're one of the most easy hosts that I've been able to interview.
Thank you so much. I'll take that as a compliment.
Well done on everything. I hope to see you achieve a lot more in the near future and the longer future. So all the very best in everything. All the best to Team Ultra. How do people reach out to you to sign up or to just generally get to know you and the brand?
I think we're on Instagram and our website is also live. It's teamultra.in. So you can just reach out to us there and we'll get connected.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you again and all the very best.
Thank you so much.